in the world. And we've now established through this inadvertent experiment that we're doing with high def that it's not just a function of the resolution of the image, because there are certain images that you can see on TV, especially when you watch events that are taking place far, far away, that are unnaturally sharp in their definition, that are sharper on TV than they would be if you were at the event and as far away from it as you are, from the perspective of the television. I'm thinking football and baseball games where you can see people who are standing, kind of a
Really
virtual
far away.
distance away from you of maybe 100 yards with unnatural clarity and resolution, and that looks different to us. We intuitively recognize, this is unnatural. This is almost kind of defying the laws of nature. So similarly, I know I'm speaking in really general terms, but I think similarly, we're also capable of distinguishing the subtle differences between the subjectively perceived colors that result from red, green, and blue versus all the colors of the spectrum. That's a great question, and it kind of anticipates what currently is understood about the structure of the eye and the sensory neurons that populate your retina, the back of your eye. And I guess rather than being like an infomercial when you're hanging, there are red-green detectors. The absence of stimulation is like green, presence is red. There are blue-yellow or blue-orange detectors, and then there are black and white. There seem to be three kinds of sensory neurons in the back of your eye, and I speak as a guy who only has kind of a superficial understanding of that part of psychology. But I encourage you guys, if you're interested, to read about vision, and I will too. It's one of the areas in which you see the highest concentration of research. Not just biological research, but also, as you may or may not know, computer research. Can we simulate the experience of sight with a computer? It's much more complex than the other senses in a certain way. It's harder to simulate with algorithms and stuff. It's much easier to do sound perception than visual perception, hence Dragon systems and other dictation programs. Are you guys with me?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
So if there were
Any drawing?
No, I'm not drawing.
Okay. Just don't
If there were
subvert.
an alien race that used different colors to perceive in the eye, would they be able to watch our TV, or would it be like really weird?
It depends on what their sensory receptors, if they're wired in any way like us, were capable of detecting. I mean, it's, you all know that things look different when you just kind of are able to process the infrared spectrum. But here's the freaky thing. None of us really knows what it's like just to be able to see infrared, because when we see stuff, we put on infrared glasses, or we see, like in the movie Predator, photograph, or lots of other photographs taken using infrared sensitive equipment. We're seeing infrared images through our eyes, which pick up stuff in the what we call the visible spectrum. Still, we don't see straight infrared images. Does that make sense? So who knows what it actually looks like? But images do throw off infrared. We all throw off infrared radiation as well as reflecting visible radiation. So it's got to be different. I don't know. These are really kind of cool questions. But they underscore another critical point, and I promise not to keep going because I want you guys to talk, which is this, that the way we perceive the world, the way we perceive just the visual world alone, is heavily influenced and largely a function of, heavily influenced by, largely a function of the apparatus that we use to look at it. So there's no kind of absolute truth that we perceive when we look at the visual world, the truth of how things look. It's totally dictated by our equipment. Does that make sense? So just because Marissa looks the way she does, to me, and presumably to the rest of us, although that's another interesting question, what are the subjective differences that exist in our visual perceptions of people? Just because she looks the way she does, doesn't mean that's how she really looks. Do you know what I mean? It's solely a function of what kinds of radiation we're picking up, able to make sense of and process in our brains that she's throwing off or that she's reflecting. So there's a certain degree of arbitrariness that characterizes our perception of the visual world and also, the sound world and the smell world and the taste world. I know that the healthy assumption that we all make is this is the way things are, and if you walked around all day long constantly wondering how they really were, you drive yourself nuts, so we don't. These are very interesting issues to me. They kind of verge on the philosophical. Sarah?
For somebody to be colorblind, how great does the damage have to be to their color sensing neurons? Does it have to be just to a few of them, or does it have to be to all colors?
Some people seem not to be able to pick up the difference between or make the distinction between green and red.
Christmas would suck
Yeah.
for them.
I like green and brown.
Are you colorblind?
No, but someone in my class is.
Gannon?
Yeah. And Shara claims he's colorblind, but I think he's lying.
I think those people can't really see green and red the way we see green and red because the green/red sensory neurons called cones in their eyes somehow are defective in a way that I don't fully understand. Whether anybody knows exactly what goes wrong or not is a question I can't answer. Either if I had to guess, I'd say no, but I could be wrong. It'd be cool if people did. It's something you guys should look up. I'd be fascinated to find out if anybody knows.
So like,
Pardon me?
Yes.
Sarah?
so they have like, so they can see blues and orange and other colors?
Yes.
So why is it that colorblind people can't be plane pilots? Can't they like have different colored lights instead of having like green and red lights? Can't they have like blue and orange?
They could, but
That'd
we
be
live-
extremely tedious to change in the plane.
Yeah. And that's a fair question. We
It's
live in a
probably
world.
not worth, there's probably more other pilots that are in colorblind than there are to make it worth changing everything to suit colorblind people.
Yeah. And it's like, why is the world kind of designed for right-handed people instead of left-handed?
Just like left-handed people in the double.
That's what they used to be considered, basically. Left-handed, if you're left-handed, that was a bad thing. And they made you
Sinister.
switch to right hand.
That's right.
Yeah.
And in Arab cultures, sorry, as we all know, it's
Arabia.
really impolite to eat with your left hand. Your left hand is the dirty hand. When you wait your ball.
Yeah, not just Arab cultures, other African cultures.
Thank you.
Yeah, like Greeks.
India as well.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for all the information you have. Bring your time. Sorry? In Latin?
No, they're all from Texas or something.
Dex, you took Latin.
I also took Greek.
Dex, is it from the Greek? I thought dexterous. Oh, okay. Ambi, both, and or double, yeah.
So the body's designed like, it's not symmetric left and right, like the heart is on one side and.
Yeah, it's not,
brain-
that's right.
So is there, are there any cases where the body's just been flipped around, like the heart's on the other
Yeah,
side?
absolutely.
Say that again, I missed the beginning of that.
Are there
Sorry.
any cases where people are just completely
Yes.
flipped around?
Yes, they're called Vulcans. That's so cheap.
Yeah.
Let's see if it were fifth period. I have some really satiric, snappy.
Does that have anything to do with left-handedness or is that?
No, it doesn't.
No, sometimes
If it's on the other side, maybe backwards.
I love your inquisitiveness and feel constantly inadequate by my lack of,
I don't know.
because of my lack of knowledge. Sarah?
Yes.
She doesn't know? I don't know.
I have a feeling it wouldn't make much of a difference. as long
Are
as
your
it was
eyes
left
more
side.
sensitive than your balls?
Rolf, returning to an earlier topic of discussion, which he's
What?
encoded
Think
in
about
his
it.
mind as balls. Man, they're sensitive. Cojones. No.
But think about it. Your eyes are probably the most complicated organ you have.
I think that could well be true.
So how are they? They could very well be more sensitive than your balls.
Sense organ, anyway.
What about your
Well, when
hand?
you say sensitive, you mean touch sensitive? The 2-point threshold on your eye?
More sensory things in them.
More neurons per
Yeah.
square centimeter?
Yeah.
Why did I go metric there? I feel like a communist in some ways.
That's
An
what they do.
American to be metric.